The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, though Hyun would remember it as the day everything changed. He stood in the command center of Earth's orbital station, staring at the holographic display that floated before him. The alien transmission had been decoded 3 hours ago, and he had read it 17 times since then. "They want us to fight," said Nari, her arms crossed as she stood beside him. She was the best pilot humanity had, though she would never admit it herself. "Like some kind of game." "It's not a game," Hyun replied quietly. He was the fleet commander, chosen for his calm mind and quick decisions. Right now, he felt neither calm nor quick. "It's a test. They want to see if we deserve to exist. The Galactic Coalition had found Earth 6 months ago. Humanity had been reaching for the stars, building faster ships and better weapons when the aliens arrived first. Their vessels were massive, beautiful things that made human engineering look like children's toys. They came in peace, they said, to welcome humanity to the greater galaxy. But peace had conditions." Jinho, the tactical officer, pulled up another screen. His fingers moved quickly across the controls, bringing up images of alien species. "The Coalition has 47 member races," he said. "All of them had to prove themselves worthy through these combat trials. It's tradition, apparently. Goes back 4,000 years. 4,000 years, Nari repeated. "And no one's ever refused?" "3 species refused," Hyun said, his voice hard. "The Coalition didn't invite them again. They bombed them from orbit until there was nothing left but glass and ash." The room went silent. Through the large windows, Earth hung below them, blue and green and completely unaware of what was coming. 7 billion people going about their lives, not knowing that their fate rested on a decision being made in this room. "How does it work?" asked Nari. Hyun gestured, and the main display changed. It showed a region of space marked in red. "They call it the neutral zone, an asteroid field between here and the Coalition border. We send fighters. They send champions. Ship-to-ship combat. No rules except one. The fight continues until one side can't fight anymore." "How many fights?" "As many as it takes," Jinho answered. "The Coalition decides when we've proven ourselves. Could be 1 fight, could be 10. He paused. "Their champions have never lost. Not in 4,000 years. Nari laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Of course they haven't. Why would they keep a tradition where they lose?" She had a point, Hyun thought. The Coalition held all the power here. They made the rules. They judged the outcomes. They decided if humanity lived or died. And from what he had learned about them, they did not think much of humans at all. The aliens had studied Earth from orbit for months before making contact. They knew everything about humanity, the wars, the weapons, the history written in blood across every continent. When their ambassadors finally landed, they looked at humans the way someone might look at a dangerous animal. Interesting, perhaps. Useful, maybe, but certainly not equal. Velkara, the war master of the Coalition, had been particularly blunt during the last meeting. She was a tall creature, with 4 arms and skin like purple stone. Her species, the Torvan, had been warriors once, thousands of years ago. Now they were philosophers and artists, having outgrown their violent past. "You are young," she had told Hyun. "Your species still kills its own kind over resources and beliefs. You have known nothing but conflict since you discovered fire. This makes you dangerous, Commander Hyun. The Coalition must know if you can be controlled." Hyun had wanted to argue. He wanted to point out that humanity had also created music and art, had built cities and cured diseases, had reached for the stars with hope rather than hate. But he knew it would not matter. The Coalition had already decided what humans were. The trials were just a formality. "I'll go," Nari said suddenly. "I volunteer." Hyun turned to look at her. She was young, only 28, with quick eyes and quicker reflexes. She had been flying since she was 16, first in atmosphere and then in space. There was no one better. You know what you're volunteering for, Hyun said. It was not a question. I know. Nari's jaw was set firm. They think we're primitive. They think our ships are slow and our weapons are weak. They've been flying in space for thousands of years while we've barely left our own planet. She smiled, and this time it was genuine. They have no idea what they're in for. Explain, said Jinho. They've been at peace for how long? Nari asked. Hundreds of years? Thousands? They do these trials against other species who are just like them, peaceful, civilized, following rules. She leaned forward. But we're not like them. We've been fighting each other for our entire history. We know war. We've perfected it. Hyun felt something stir in his chest. She was right. The coalition saw humanity's violent history as a weakness, as proof of primitive nature. But what if it was actually humanity's greatest strength? They'll send their champions, Nari continued. Warriors who trained in academies, who learned combat as an art form, who fight with honor and tradition. Her eyes were bright now. I learned to fly by dodging missiles in the Pacific War. I fought against enemies who wanted me dead, not enemies who wanted a fair match. There's a difference. Jinho was nodding slowly. Our ships might be less advanced, but our pilots have real combat experience. We've been killing each other in creative ways for thousands of years. We need 5 more volunteers, Hyun said. The words felt heavy in his mouth. The coalition wants 6 fighters for the first trial. They're sending 6 champions. I'll find them, Nari said. Give me 12 hours. She left the command center at a run, her boots echoing on the metal floor. Hyun watched her go, then turned back to the image of Earth floating peacefully below. Somewhere down there, people were waking up, going to work, kissing their children goodbye. They had no idea that 6 pilots would soon be all that stood between them and extinction. Do you think we can win? Jinho asked quietly. Hyun thought about Velkara's words, about 4,000 years of undefeated champions, about the coalition's massive ships and advanced weapons, about humanity's short, violent history. I think, he said slowly, that they've never fought anyone like us before. They've fought other civilized species, other peaceful races trying to prove they can defend themselves. He turned to face Jinho. But we're not trying to prove anything. We're just trying to survive, and humans are very, very good at that. 3 days later, Nari stood in the hangar bay beside her fighter. It was small and angular, built for speed rather than comfort. Behind her, 5 other pilots checked their own ships. They had volunteered without hesitation when she asked. They all understood what was at stake. Hyun approached her, his expression grave. The coalition has sent their champions. They're waiting in the neutral zone. Good, Nari said. She climbed into her cockpit. Let's show them what humans can do. As her ship lifted off and shot toward the stars, Hyun whispered a prayer to gods he did not believe in. 6 human fighters against the coalition's finest warriors. The aliens had no idea what was coming. The asteroid field looked like a graveyard of planets. Massive rocks tumbled slowly through space, some as small as houses, others as large as cities. Between them, the darkness waited, and in that darkness, Nari saw her enemy. The coalition champion's ship was beautiful. Its hull gleamed silver and gold, covered in symbols that probably meant something important to whoever built it. Energy shields shimmered around it like heat waves. Compared to her own fighter, gray metal and sharp edges, it looked like art facing off against a tool. Contact established, came Taiho's voice through her comm system. He was her weapons specialist, monitoring from the command ship at a safe distance. Enemy vessel is identified as belonging to Drukar, ranked 10th among coalition champions. 43 victories, 0 defeats. 43, Nari muttered. Lucky number 44 will be different. His shields are reading at twice your strength, Taiho continued. His voice was calm, but she could hear the worry underneath. Weapons output is superior. Engine thrust is... I get it, Nari cut him off. He's better than me in every way that shows up on a scanner. She checked her own instruments, fingers moving across controls she knew by touch. Good thing battles aren't won on paper. Sora, her navigator back on the command ship, spoke up. Nari, I'm tracking his movement pattern. He's circling slowly, keeping distance. I think he's studying you. Nari smiled inside her helmet. Of course he is. He wants to understand what kind of opponent I am. Probably thinks this will be easy. She pushed her throttle forward slightly. Let's give him something to study. She fired her thrusters and dove straight down, or what counted as down in space, putting a massive asteroid between herself and Drukar. The move was sudden, aggressive, not what a cautious pilot would do. Through the sensors, she watched Drukar's ship slow down. He was confused. She could almost hear his thoughts. Why would she hide? Why not maintain distance and test weapons first? That was how proper combat began. Careful, measured, respectful. But Nari had not learned to fight in an academy. She learned in a war where hesitation meant death. She came around the asteroid at full speed, engines screaming. Her targeting system locked onto Drukar's ship, and she fired everything she had. Missiles streaked across the void, followed by energy bolts that lit up the darkness. Drukar's shields absorbed it all. The impacts looked impressive, flashes of light and energy, but when they faded, his ship was undamaged, just as expected. Nari, you barely scratched him, Taiho said, alarm creeping into his voice. I know, she replied, already turning hard to the left. Her body pressed against the seat as the G-forces hit her. I wasn't trying to scratch him. Drukar returned fire. His weapons were more powerful, more advanced. They lit up space with brilliant colors that would have been beautiful if they were not trying to kill her. But Nari was already moving, twisting her ship through patterns that made no sense, that followed no doctrine. One shot came close. Too close. Her ship's alarms screamed as the energy blast passed within meters of her hull. A direct hit would have ended everything. That was insane, Sora shouted. You're pulling 8 Gs in some of those turns. 9, actually, Nari grunted. Her vision was graying at the edges, her body being crushed by the forces of her own maneuvers. But she kept flying, kept moving. Question: what kind of Gs can Drukar's species handle? There was a pause. Then Taiho spoke, understanding dawning in his voice. According to the database, most coalition species evolved on low-gravity worlds. They can handle maybe 4 Gs, maximum 5 before they start blacking out. Exactly. Nari grinned despite the pressure on her chest. We evolved on a heavy world. Earth's gravity made us strong. We can take punishment they can't even imagine. She proved it by diving into a series of maneuvers that would kill most alien pilots. Tight spirals, sudden reversals, acceleration that felt like being hit by a truck. Her ship groaned under the stress. Her own body screamed in protest, but she held on because humans were stubborn like that. Drukar tried to follow. His ship was faster, more maneuverable. But every time he attempted to match her turns, he had to slow down, had to take it easier. His biology would not allow the same punishment. He's getting frustrated, Sora reported. His flight pattern is becoming erratic. Good, Nari thought. Frustration led to mistakes, and mistakes led to death. She led him on a chase through the asteroid field, using the massive rocks as cover and obstacles. Her ship was smaller, more agile in tight spaces. Drukar's beautiful vessel was built for open combat, for honorable duels in empty space. This was not honorable. This was survival. Nari, he's charging weapons, Taiho warned. Big energy spike. I think he's going for a kill shot. Perfect. Nari found what she was looking for. 2 asteroids close together, with just enough space between them for her fighter. Watch this. She accelerated toward the gap. Behind her, Drukar followed, his weapons glowing with deadly energy. He thought he had her cornered, thought she was making a desperate escape. He fired. Nari cut her engines and fired her reverse thrusters at full power. The sudden deceleration threw her against her restraints hard enough to bruise. Her vision went black for a moment, but the ship stopped, hanging in space just before the gap. Drukar's massive energy blast shot past her, missing by meters. It struck the asteroid beyond and exploded in a shower of rock and fire, and Drukar, going too fast to stop, committed to his attack run, flew straight into the debris field his own weapon created. "Direct hit!" Tejo shouted. "His shields are down 40%. Nari was already moving. While Drukar was blinded by dust and spinning rocks, she came around hard and locked onto his ship. This time, when she fired, her weapons bit deep. Energy bolts punched through weakened shields and struck hull. Metal vaporized. Systems exploded. Drukar tried to turn, tried to bring his own weapons to bear. But Nari was already behind him, in the blind spot every ship had. She fired again and again, her weapons tearing into his engines. "His shields are failing," Sora called out. "He's trying to retreat." But Nari knew there was no retreat in this fight. The Coalition had made the rules clear: battle until one side cannot continue. She could not let him escape to repair and return stronger. She lined up her final shot. Her targeting computer painted Drukar's ship in red. All she had to do was fire. For a moment, she hesitated. This was a living being in that ship. Someone with thoughts and feelings, with maybe a family waiting at home. The Coalition called these trials not war. Maybe she could disable him, force a surrender. Then she remembered Earth hanging in space, blue and fragile. Remembered 7 billion people who would die if she showed mercy to someone who would show her none. She fired. Drukar's ship broke apart in a flash of light. The explosion was brief but bright, like a new star being born and dying in the same instant. She saw the escape pod launch, a small silver sphere tumbling away from the destruction. "He's alive," Tejo said. "The pod's life support is active." Nari watched the pod drift. Then she saw it start to shake. The violent tumbling was causing rotation, generating G-forces inside. Drukar was still experiencing the acceleration that humans handled without thought. "His life signs are fading," Sora said quietly. "The forces, he can't handle it. His biology—" "I know," Nari interrupted. "She could save him, could match velocity with the pod, stabilize it." But would he do the same for her? Would the Coalition? The life signs on her scanner went flat. Drukar was dead, killed not by weapons, but by the same forces that humans endured every time they flew. "Victory confirmed," came a new voice. Cold, official. It was Velkara, the War Master. "The human has defeated our champion." Nari did not feel victorious. She felt tired. Her body ached from the G-forces, her hands were shaking from adrenaline. But she was alive, and Drukar was not. "We demand a rematch," Velkara continued. "This was clearly a fluke. Send another fighter. We will send a stronger champion." Nari looked at the debris field that had been Drukar's ship, at the escape pod that had become a coffin, at the asteroids that had been her weapons just as much as her missiles. "Bring them," she said quietly. "We'll be waiting." As she turned her ship toward home, she thought about Hyun's words. The Coalition had 4,000 years of victories, but they had never fought humans before. They were about to learn why that mattered. Jinho checked his instruments for the third time in as many minutes. Everything was green, all systems ready, but his hands still felt cold inside his gloves. Through his cockpit window, he could see them. 3 ships, not one. 3 Coalition champions, hanging in space like predators waiting for prey. "They're not happy about Drukar," Minji said through the comm. She was back on the command ship, monitoring his systems and weapons. Her voice was steady. but he knew her well enough to hear the tension underneath. Sending 3 champions against 1 pilot, that's excessive. They're scared, Jinho replied. He studied the enemy ships on his scanner. Each one was different. Different designs, different species, different weapons. Nari showed them that humans can win. Now they want to prove it was luck. The 3 ships were ranked 5th, 3rd, and 1st among all coalition champions, the best fighters their civilization had produced in thousands of years, warriors who had never known defeat, and they were all here to kill 1 human pilot. Jinho smiled inside his helmet. They thought numbers would make the difference. They thought overwhelming force would guarantee victory. It showed how little they understood about humanity. "Coalition champions are hailing you," Minji said. "Should I put them through?" "Why not?" The comm crackled to life. 3 voices spoke, translated by computers into words Jinho could understand. They introduced themselves with long titles and longer lists of victories. They spoke about honor and duty and the glory of combat. They were polite, formal, respectful. They were also already making their first mistake. "Do you have any last words, human?" one of them asked. His name was something with too many syllables that Jinho immediately forgot. "Just one question," Jinho said. "Have you 3 ever fought together before?" Silence. Then, "We are each sufficient to defeat any opponent alone. Together we are unstoppable." "That's not what I asked." The comm cut off. The 3 ships began to move, spreading out in a formation that looked impressive, but told Jinho everything he needed to know. They had trained individually, fought individually, won individually. They were not a team. They were 3 champions who happened to be in the same place. Jinho, on the other hand, had learned to fight as part of a unit, had learned that individuals lost to groups every single time. "Minji, remember the Jakarta maneuver? The one that got us court-martialed?" Her voice was incredulous. "We were cleared of all charges," Jinho pointed out. "Only because it worked." "Exactly." Jinho fired his engines and accelerated straight toward the 3 ships. "Let's make it work again." The coalition champions reacted exactly as he expected. They each tried to claim the kill for themselves, adjusting their positions to get the best firing angle. In doing so, they blocked each other's shots, got in each other's way. Jinho flew between them, his ship small enough to slip through gaps in their formation. He fired at the closest one, the 5th-ranked champion, but not to destroy, just to damage, to slow down, to make that ship a problem for the others. "You're not going for the kill?" Minji asked. "Not yet," Jinho replied, already turning hard. "First rule of pack tactics, separate the herd." He led the champions on a chase through the asteroid field. But unlike Nari's fight, he was not trying to lose them. He was trying to string them out, to create distance between the 3 ships. Every time they bunched up, he slowed down. Every time they spread out, he accelerated. The 3rd-ranked champion, flying the fastest ship, pulled ahead of the others. Jinho watched on his scanner as the gap widened. 500 meters, 1,000, 2,000. "Now," he whispered. He spun his ship in a maneuver that should have been impossible, using an asteroid's gravity to whip himself around. The sudden reversal brought him face to face with the lead champion at point-blank range. Both ships fired simultaneously. Energy weapons lit up the void. Jinho's shields took a massive hit, dropping to 60%. Alarms screamed in his cockpit. But the champion's ship took worse. Jinho had fired everything he had in one concentrated burst. "His shields are down," Minji shouted. Wait, he's retreating!" The 3rd-ranked champion turned and ran. His ship was faster, and within seconds he was out of weapons range, fleeing back toward his companions. "Jinho, you had him. Why didn't you finish it?" "Because I don't need to kill them," Jinho said quietly. "I just need to break them." The 3 champions regrouped, and Jinho could imagine the conversation happening on their secure channel. The 3rd-ranked warrior had run away, had shown fear. In a culture that valued honor and bravery above all else, that was worse than defeat. "They're arguing," Minji reported, listening to intercepted transmissions. "The third-ranked is trying to explain. The first-ranked is calling him a coward." Perfect. Jinho had studied human military history his entire life, had read about every major battle, every significant war. One lesson appeared again and again: an army that does not trust itself is already defeated. The coalition champions came at him again, but this time their formation was sloppy. They were not working together. They were competing. Each one wanted to prove themselves braver, stronger, more worthy than the others. Jinho used that against them. He fired a missile, just one, at the fifth-ranked champion. The warrior dodged easily, but in dodging, he moved into the firing line of the first-ranked champion, who had to abort his own attack to avoid hitting his ally. "You're making them fight each other without even trying," Minji said, amazement in her voice. "Sun Tzu wrote about this," Jinho replied, pulling another tight turn. "Make your enemy defeat themselves. It's easier than doing it yourself." He kept up the pressure, attacking and retreating, feinting and dodging, never committing to a real fight, just constantly forcing the three champions to react, to get in each other's way, to grow more and more frustrated. The first-ranked champion, the best fighter the coalition had, finally lost patience. He broke formation and came at Jinho alone, weapons blazing. It was a beautiful attack, textbook perfect. Against a single opponent in open space, it would have been unstoppable. But Jinho was not in open space. He was near an asteroid, and he used it. The champion's shots missed by centimeters as Jinho's ship ducked behind the massive rock. The champion followed, aggressive and angry, exactly what Jinho wanted. "Minji, activate the package." "Jinho, no, that's insane." "Do it!" She did. 3 hours ago, Jinho had planted explosive charges on this asteroid. Mining charges, technically legal. He had planned this battlefield before the fight ever started. The asteroid exploded, not completely, just enough to send massive chunks of rock flying in all directions. The first-ranked champion flew straight into the debris field at full speed. His shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did almost nothing against solid matter moving at orbital velocities. Rock smashed into his hull, systems failed. The beautiful ship tumbled end over end, completely out of control. "His engines are gone," Minji reported. "Life support is failing. He's ejecting." Jinho watched the escape pod launch. 1 down, 2 to go. But when he turned to face the remaining champions, he saw something unexpected. Both ships were hanging in space, motionless, not attacking, not moving at all. "What are they doing?" he asked. Minji was silent for a moment, listening to transmissions. "They're withdrawing. They're refusing to fight." "What?" "They saw what you did. Saw you defeat the best warrior the coalition has. They're saying—" Her voice was strange. "They're saying you fight without honor, that you use tricks and deception, that this is not true combat." Jinho felt anger rise in his chest. Not true combat? He had fought 3 opponents simultaneously and won. Had used tactics and strategy to overcome superior technology. Had done exactly what any good soldier should do. "Tell them," Jinho said slowly, "that honor does not stop bullets, that following rules does not prevent death, that I am not here to give them a fair fight. I am here to protect my home." The 2 remaining champions did not respond. Their ships turned and began to move away, back toward coalition space. They were abandoning the trial, refusing to continue. "Velkara is broadcasting," Minji said. She's accepting their withdrawal. Under coalition law, refusing combat counts as forfeiture. You win, Jinho, all 3 matches." Jinho should have felt victorious, should have felt proud. Instead, he felt tired. He looked at the escape pods drifting in space, the first-ranked champion who had been ejected, likely injured or dying. the other two warriors fleeing in shame. "They called our tactics dishonorable," he said quietly. "They did," Minji agreed, "because we fight to win, not to look good doing it." Yes. Jinho thought about Earth, about the thousands of years of war that had shaped humanity, about all the battles won through cleverness rather than strength, through strategy rather than honor. The coalition saw it as primitive, as shameful. Humans saw it as survival. "Let them think what they want," Jinho said, turning his ship toward home. "Nari defeated one champion in honest combat. I defeated 3 using tactics they could not understand. How many more will they send before they realize the truth?" "What truth?" Minji asked. Jinho watched the coalition ships growing smaller in the distance, fleeing from a single human in a ship that was inferior in every measurable way. "That we are not just another species trying to join their peaceful civilization," he said. "We are something they have never encountered before. We are not warriors who fight with honor. We are soldiers who fight to survive, and we are very, very good at it." Hyun had never expected to fly in combat himself. As fleet commander, his place was on the command ship, coordinating the battle from a safe distance. But the coalition had changed the rules. Again. "They are sending their elite guard," Velkara's message had stated. 5 warriors who have never known defeat. "They demand to face your leader in personal combat, Commander Hyun. If you refuse, we will consider it surrender." Now Hyun sat in his cockpit, running through pre-flight checks while Do-hyun, his chief strategist, talked rapidly through the comm system. "This is a trap," Do-hyun said for the 10th time. "They lost 4 champions to 2 pilots. They are humiliated. Now they want revenge, and they want it against you specifically." "I know," Hyun replied calmly. 5 against 1, Hyun. Even Nari and Jinho faced better odds. "I know that too." Hyun's fingers moved across the controls, each switch and button familiar from hundreds of training hours. He might be a commander, but like all human pilots, he had trained for combat. "What do we know about the elite guard?" Do-hyun sighed, accepting that the argument was over. "They are different from the champions. Champions fight for glory and honor. The elite guard fights to protect the coalition council. They are professional, focused. They will not make the same mistakes." "Good," Hyun said. "I hate fighting amateurs." Yuna, the medical officer, spoke up from her station. "Commander, I have been studying the biological data on coalition species. There is something you need to know." "Tell me." "Every species in the coalition evolved on low-gravity worlds. Their planets are smaller than Earth, with weaker gravity. This affects everything: their bone density, their muscle structure, their cardiovascular systems. But there is more." She paused. "Most coalition species evolved as prey animals or peaceful herbivores. They developed intelligence to avoid predators, not to hunt them." Hyun felt something click in his mind. "What about humans?" "Humans evolved as persistence hunters on a high-gravity world. We are predators, cooperative pack hunters who used to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We evolved alongside other predators, lions, wolves, bears. Fear is part of our survival instinct, but it does not paralyze us. It makes us sharper." "And the coalition species?" "Fear makes them freeze," Yuna said quietly. "It is a prey response. Run or hide. Their combat training can override this to some extent, but the instinct remains." Hyun understood now. It was not just about technology or tactics. It was about something deeper, something written into DNA over millions of years. Humans were predators pretending to be civilized. The coalition were prey animals who had built a civilization to protect themselves from predators. And now a predator species had arrived at their door. "How long until the elite guard arrives?" Hyun asked. 20 minutes, Do-hyun replied. "Hyun, are you sure about this?" "No," Hyun admitted. but I am sure we do not have a choice. He launched from the command ship and flew toward the neutral zone. The asteroid field looked the same as always, cold, dark, ancient rocks tumbling through empty space. But today it felt different. Today it felt like a hunting ground. The elite guard arrived exactly on schedule. 5 ships, identical in design, moving in perfect formation. Their coordination was flawless, their spacing precise. These were not glory-seeking champions. These were professionals. Coalition Elite Guard to Human Commander, a voice said through the comm. No introduction, no boasting. We are authorized to use lethal force. Surrender now and your species will be granted vassal status. Refuse, and we will destroy you and move on to your planet. Hyun did not answer immediately. He studied their formation, their approach vector, their spacing. Everything was textbook perfect. No gaps, no weaknesses. They had studied Nari and Jinho's fights, had learned from the champion's mistakes. Yuna, Hyun said quietly on the command channel. That thing you said about prey animals freezing when afraid, does it work in reverse? What do you mean? Can we make predators hesitate? There was a pause. Predators hesitate when prey does something unexpected, something that does not fit the pattern. Why? Hyun smiled. Because I have an idea. He opened the general comm channel. Elite Guard, I accept your challenge, but I have one condition. You are in no position to make conditions, human. Probably not, Hyun agreed. But hear me out anyway. You have studied our previous fights. You know Nari used speed and maneuverability. You know Jinho used tactics and deception. You are prepared for both. We are prepared for anything you might attempt. Good. Then you will not mind if I do something different. Hyun took a breath. I am going to fly straight at you. No tricks, no deception. Just a direct attack. And I am going to destroy all 5 of your ships. Silence on the comm. Hyun could imagine the elite guard looking at each other confused. It made no sense. 5 against 1 in a direct fight? The human would be destroyed in seconds. You are either insane or lying, the voice finally said. Only one way to find out. Hyun pushed his throttle to maximum and accelerated directly toward the elite guard formation. His ship screamed forward, engine burning at full power. No evasive maneuvers, no attempt to use asteroids for cover, just a straight, aggressive charge. Commander, what are you doing? Do-Hyun shouted. They will cut you to pieces. Maybe, Hyun replied. His hands were steady on the controls. His heart was racing, but his mind was clear. This was what millions of years of predator evolution had given humanity, the ability to function in extreme danger. Or maybe they blink first. The elite guard opened fire. Energy weapons lit up space, a wall of deadly light. Hyun's shields took hit after hit, the impacts lighting up his cockpit with warning lights. Shield power dropped. 50%, 40, 30. But Hyun did not slow down, did not turn away. He flew straight through the fire, accepting the damage, ignoring the alarms. His ship was being torn apart, but he was still coming. Impossible, he heard someone say on the coalition channel. He should have retreated. His shields are failing. Why is he not retreating? Because humans do not give up, Hyun thought. Because we evolved to chase prey until it died of exhaustion, and that meant we learned to keep going when any sane creature would stop. His shields failed. Direct hits struck his hull. Metal vaporized. Systems went offline. But his engines were still firing and his weapons were still armed. At the last possible second, when collision was inevitable, the elite guard formation broke. 5 ships scattered in different directions, their perfect coordination destroyed by simple disbelief. They could not understand an opponent who would sacrifice everything for a single attack run. Hyun spun his ship, barely holding together now, and locked onto the closest elite guard vessel. The warrior was still turning, still trying to re-establish formation. Hyun fired every weapon he had left. The elite guard ship exploded. 1 down. "Reform!" someone shouted on their channel. "Do not let him—" But it was too late. Hyun had broken their formation, had scattered them. Now they were 5 individual ships instead of one unified force, and individually they were vulnerable. He targeted the second ship. This warrior tried to run, tried to create distance. But Hyun followed, his damaged ship somehow still flying. He took more hits, lost more systems. His cockpit was filling with smoke. But he kept firing, kept attacking. The second ship fell, 2 down. "He is not stopping," one of the elite guards shouted. "His ship is destroyed. Why is he not ejecting?" Yuna's voice came through, calm despite the chaos. "Because predators do not stop hunting until the prey is dead. It is instinct, written into our DNA. They cannot comprehend it because their instinct is to flee danger, not pursue it." Hyun destroyed the third ship. His own vessel was barely flying now, held together by luck and determination. The last 2 elite guard warriors were fleeing, their perfect training overcome by something deeper, the prey response to a relentless predator. "Stop running!" their leader shouted. "We outnumber him! We can—" Hyun's ship exploded, not from enemy fire, but from internal damage finally catching up. Systems overloaded. The reactor went critical. For a moment, his cockpit was filled with light and heat. Then his escape pod launched, the emergency system activating automatically. Hyun tumbled through space, watching his ship disintegrate into a cloud of debris. The 2 surviving elite guard ships stopped fleeing. They turned back, weapons charged, ready to finish him off. An escape pod had no shields, no weapons. It was helpless. But before they could fire, 5 human ships dropped out of hyperspace. Nari, Jinho, and 3 other pilots, arriving exactly on schedule. They had been waiting at the edge of the zone, ready to intervene if needed. The elite guard took one look at the new arrivals and made their choice. They fled, hyperdrives engaging, leaving their dead behind. "Coalition elite guard has withdrawn," Do-hyun reported. "Velkara is broadcasting on all channels. She wants to talk." Hyun's escape pod was picked up by the command ship. By the time he made it to the bridge, still in his damaged flight suit, Velkara's image was already on the main screen. The War Master looked different, smaller somehow, less certain. "Commander Hyun," she said, "we must speak truthfully now." "I have always spoken truthfully," Hyun replied. "No, we have not." Velkara's 4 arms moved in what might have been a gesture of defeat. "We did not want to admit what your species represents, what you are." "And what are we?" "Something the Coalition has never encountered before," Velkara said quietly. "A species that is both intelligent and predatory, that hunts cooperatively, that does not fear death the way we do." She paused. "We evolved beyond our violent pasts thousands of years ago. We thought all intelligent species would do the same. We were wrong." Hyun looked at Earth on the view screen. His home. His people. 7 billion humans who descended from hunters who once chased prey across the African plains. "So what happens now?" he asked. "Now," Velkara said, "we must decide if we can coexist with predators." The Coalition Council chamber was enormous. Hyun stood in the center of it, feeling very small. Around him, in a massive circle, sat representatives from 47 alien species. Thousands of eyes watched him from bodies that ranged from barely humanoid to completely alien. The air smelled strange, a mix of atmospheres blended together to accommodate everyone. Beside Hyun stood Nari and Jinho, the 3 human pilots who had fought and won. Behind them, visible through massive windows, hung the Coalition fleet. Hundreds of warships, enough firepower to reduce Earth to dust in minutes. "We have debated for 3 days," said the council speaker, a floating creature that looked like a jellyfish made of light. "The question before us is simple. What do we do about humanity?" Velkara stood to address the council. The War Master looked tired. Hyun thought. The trials had cost her more than just warriors. The humans defeated our champions, she said. They defeated our elite guard. They have proven themselves in combat according to our own laws. By tradition, they should be granted full membership in the coalition. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Not all of them sounded happy. But, Velkara continued, there is another consideration. Humanity is fundamentally different from every species in this chamber. They are predators, pack hunters. They evolved through violence and competition. Can we truly accept such a species into our peaceful coalition? A representative from the Torvins stood. His species was tall and elegant, with skin like polished stone. I say we cannot. The humans fight without honor. They use deception and trickery. They do not follow the proper rules of combat. Because your rules are designed for a fair fight, Jinho said quietly. Hyun placed a warning hand on his shoulder, but the damage was done. Every eye turned to the human pilot. You dare speak in this chamber? The Torvin said. Why not? Jinho stepped forward. You are discussing our fate. Should we not have a voice? The council speaker's light dimmed, which Hyun had learned meant disapproval. You are here as witnesses, not participants. Then witness this, Jinho said, his voice carrying across the vast space. You call our tactics dishonorable because we do not fight the way you do, because we use strategy and deception and anything else that gives us an advantage. You know why we fight that way? Silence. Because we had to, Jinho continued. For thousands of years, humans fought each other, not for sport or honor, but for survival, for territory, for resources, for beliefs we were willing to die for. We learned that fair fights get you killed. We learned that following rules means nothing if your enemy does not. We learned to win because losing meant extinction. Exactly our point, another representative said. You are a violent species, dangerous. Unpredictable. Yes, Nari spoke up now. We are all of those things. We are also creative and loyal, and we never give up. We are predators, yes. But we are also the only species who domesticated other predators. We took wolves, pack hunters like ourselves, and made them our friends. Do you know why? More silence. Because we understood them, Nari said. We recognized kindred spirits. We are not mindless killers. We are survivors who learned to work together, even with other species. She looked around the chamber. You want to know if you can coexist with predators? You already do. You coexist with each other, with species that compete for resources and territory. The only difference is that we are better at violence than you are. That scares you. And you know what? It should. Is that a threat? Someone asked. No, Hyun said firmly. He had stayed quiet until now, but this was too important. It is a fact. Humans are good at fighting. Thousands of years of war taught us that. But do you know what else those thousands of years taught us? He walked to the center of the chamber, addressing the council directly. They taught us that war is horrible, Hyun said. That violence destroys everything it touches. That the cost of conflict is always higher than anyone expects. We learned these lessons in blood over and over, until finally we started to change. We built peace on our world not because we stopped being predators, but because we chose to be something more. Pretty words, the Torvin representative said, but your actions speak louder. You killed 4 of our champions, destroyed our elite guard, all in the name of protecting your world. Yes, Hyun agreed. I would do it again. Any human would. We protect what we love, and we will pay any price to do it. That is what makes us dangerous. He paused. It is also what makes us valuable. Explain, the council speaker said. Hyun gestured to the coalition fleet outside the windows. You have hundreds of warships, thousands of warriors, advanced weapons that can destroy planets. But when was the last time you actually fought a war? When was the last time any coalition species faced a real threat? We have peace, someone said. Why would we want war? You do not want war, Hyun said. No one does. But what happens when someone else brings war to you? What happens when you encounter a species that is not interested in your trials or your traditions? What happens when peaceful coexistence is not an option? Velkara was nodding slowly. He is right. The coalition has been fortunate. We have not faced a true enemy in millennia. Our champions and elite guard are skilled, but they train for ritual combat, not real war. If we were attacked by a species as aggressive as humanity, we would not know how to respond, the council speaker finished. Because we evolved beyond violence. We forgot how to fight for survival. Humans have not forgotten, Hyun said. We cannot forget. It is part of who we are. But we can choose what to do with that knowledge. We can choose to use our skills to protect rather than destroy, to defend rather than conquer. A long silence fell over the chamber. Hyun could feel the weight of thousands of eyes, could sense the debate happening in languages he did not understand. Finally, a new voice spoke. It came from the back of the chamber, from a species Hyun had never seen before. The creature looked ancient, its form crystalline and strange. I am Eldrin, representative of the first founders. My species helped create the coalition 4,000 years ago. I have watched it grow from a handful of worlds to an empire spanning the galaxy. The crystal being moved forward, light refracting through its body. In all that time, we have maintained peace through strength and tradition. But I wonder, have we grown soft? Have we forgotten that the universe is not always peaceful? Eldrin speaks wisdom, another ancient representative said. Perhaps humans are not a threat to the coalition. Perhaps they are what we need, a reminder that survival requires more than technology and tradition. You would welcome predators into our midst, the Torvan asked, incredulous. I would welcome allies who know how to fight, Eldrin replied. The galaxy is vast. We have explored only a fraction of it. What happens when we encounter something truly hostile? Something that sees our peace as weakness? The debate went on for hours. Arguments for and against, concerns raised and addressed. Hyun, Nari, and Jinho stood silent, watching their fate being decided by beings they barely understood. Finally, the council speaker called for a vote. All in favor of granting humanity full membership in the coalition. Lights began to glow around the chamber, slowly at first, then faster. Hyun counted them, his heart racing. 20 votes. 25. 30. Motion passes, the council speaker announced. Humanity is accepted as a full member species of the Galactic Coalition. Hyun felt Nari's hand grip his shoulder. Heard Jinho let out a breath he had been holding. They had done it. Against impossible odds, facing warriors with thousands of years of tradition, 3 human pilots had won not just battles, but a place among the stars. But the council speaker was not finished. However, the glowing being continued, humanity's membership comes with conditions. You will be granted all rights and privileges of coalition species. But you will also bear responsibilities that match your unique capabilities. What kind of responsibilities? Hyun asked. The coalition needs protectors, Velkara said. She looked different now, not defeated but thoughtful. Species who can stand between us and threats we are not equipped to handle. Humans will be our hunters, our warriors, our shield against the darkness we have forgotten exists. You want us to fight for you, Nari said flatly. We want you to fight with us, Velkara corrected. As equals. As members of the coalition who bring something no other species can. The knowledge of how to survive against impossible odds. Hyun looked at his fellow pilots, saw his own thoughts reflected in their faces. They had fought to protect Earth. Now they were being asked to protect an entire civilization. We will need time to discuss this with our people, Hyun said carefully. Of course, the council speaker agreed. But understand this, the galaxy is not as peaceful as we pretend it is. There are dangers beyond our borders. Threats we have avoided rather than confronted. Humanity's arrival may be the catalyst that changes everything. As they left the council chamber, walking through corridors filled with staring aliens, Jinho spoke quietly. We came here to prove we deserve to exist. Now they want us to be their warriors. Not just warriors, Nari said. Protectors. There is a difference. Is there? Jinho asked. Hyun thought about that. About humanity's long history of violence, of war, of conflict, about all the pain and suffering that came from being good at killing, but he also thought about the people who used that skill to protect others. The soldiers who stood between civilians and danger. The warriors who fought not for glory, but for those who could not fight for themselves. Yes, he said finally, there is a difference. Warriors fight for honor or glory. Soldiers fight to protect what they love. The coalition is asking us to be soldiers. They reached the observation deck. Below them, Earth hung in space, blue and beautiful, and unaware of how close it had come to destruction. Around it, coalition ships maintained their positions, no longer an invading force, but an escort. Allies. They sent their greatest fighters against us, Nari said softly. Champions who never lost. Elite warriors trained for thousands of years, and none of them returned. They did not understand what they were facing, Hyun said. They thought they were fighting another civilized species trying to prove themselves worthy. Instead, they fought humans, survivors, predators who chose to become protectors. Jinho looked at the fleet, at the vast coalition that had accepted humanity into its ranks. So what happens now? Hyun smiled. Now we go home. We tell our people what happened here. We let them decide if they want to be the coalition's shield. He paused. But personally, I think we will say yes. Why? Nari asked. Because that is what humans do, Hyun said. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We stand between danger and those we care about. We evolved as hunters, but we chose to become guardians. The coalition does not understand that yet, but they will. They are afraid of us, Jinho said. Good, Hyun replied. Let them be afraid. Fear breeds respect, and respect is how you make peace with predators. He turned away from the window. The coalition wanted to know if we deserve to exist. We showed them we do. Now we get to show them something else. What? Nari asked. That predators can choose mercy. That warriors can choose peace. That the same skills that make us dangerous in war make us invaluable in peace. Hyun started walking toward the ship that would take them home. They sent their greatest fighters against humans. None returned. Now humanity will send its greatest warriors to stand beside the coalition. And this time, everyone returns. That is the difference between them and us. As their ship launched toward Earth, Hyun looked back one last time at the coalition fleet, at the alien species who had learned to fear humanity's strength, but were just beginning to understand humanity's heart. The trials were over. The real work was just beginning, and for the first time in human history, they would not be fighting alone.